Learning from history, parallels between 1930s Germany and modern America. In this audiobook, we'll explore the lessons history offers when we examine the rise of authoritarianism in 1930s Germany and compare it to certain trends and events in the United States over recent years, specifically during the Trump administration. While the contexts and outcomes are different, examining some shared themes can help us understand the importance of protecting democracy. Chapter 1: Populism and the Power of Charismatic Leaders. In the 1930s, Germany saw the rise of Adolf Hitler, a leader who connected with the anger and discontent of the German people after a period of economic hardship and social division. Through a populist message, he blamed society's ills on specific groups, using this scapegoating to unite the discontented and gain widespread support. Similarly, in recent years, Donald Trump's message appealed to many Americans who felt left behind by the political system. Trump frequently spoke against traditional politicians, media, and elites, promising to change the system on behalf of ordinary Americans. Like Hitler's appeal, Trump's message resonated with those who felt alienated. Such populism can be powerful, but it's important to consider its risks, particularly when it targets specific groups as the cause of social or economic challenges. Chapter 2: Scapegoating and Division. In Germany, Nazi propaganda blamed societal issues on Jewish people, communists, and other minority groups. This rhetoric fueled a dangerous form of nationalism where certain groups were treated as enemies of the state. In the United States, Trump's rhetoric often focused on immigrants and religious groups as sources of instability. Policies like the so-called Muslim ban and the border wall amplified fears and divisions. This form of scapegoating can deepen divides and increase hostility. History shows us that blaming specific groups for society's problems rarely leads to constructive solutions and can quickly spiral into social conflict. Chapter 3: Undermining Democratic Institutions. One of the defining traits of Hitler's rise to power was his dismantling of Germany's democratic institutions. Through decrees and policies, the Nazi Party systematically removed checks on Hitler's power, leading to an authoritarian state. Trump's time in office saw a different, though concerning, approach to democratic norms. He questioned the fairness of elections, openly criticized the judiciary when decisions went against him, and labeled the media as fake news. While the circumstances are different, questioning the validity of key democratic institutions can lead to distrust and weaken democracy over time. Chapter 4: Media Control and Public Truth. In 1930s Germany, the Nazis used state-controlled media to push propaganda, ensuring that only one narrative was accessible to the public. This control over information allowed the regime to manipulate public opinion and eliminate opposition. In the modern United States, media is not state-controlled, but Trump frequently criticized the press, calling it the enemy of the people. His use of social media to directly communicate with his followers often circumvented traditional media checks and encouraged the spread of misinformation. The prevalence of alternative facts in public discourse can undermine people's trust in objective truth, a vital element for a healthy democracy. Chapter 5: Nationalism and Xenophobia. The Nazis promoted extreme nationalism, glorifying Aryan identity and emphasizing racial purity. This ideology justified aggressive policies both inside and outside Germany, leading to a culture of exclusion and hostility. Trump's America First policy also emphasized nationalism, often casting suspicion on outsiders and undermining international cooperation. Anti-immigrant policies reinforced a sense that certain groups were not truly American. History shows us that nationalism can unite, but it can also dangerously isolate people from one another, leading to a divided and less inclusive society. Chapter 6: Political Violence and Intimidation. The Nazi Party used paramilitary groups like the SA, or stormtroopers, to silence opponents through violence and intimidation. This use of force created a climate of fear, where public dissent was extremely dangerous. In recent years, although the United States has no equivalent to the SA, the rise of fringe political groups showed that violence can emerge when political rhetoric turns hostile. The Capitol attack on January 6, 2021, served as a stark reminder of the risks involved when leaders encourage followers to fight for their beliefs in ways that challenge the democratic process. Conclusion: Safeguarding our future history is a teacher, and it offers valuable lessons for today. From the tragic events of the 1930s, we can learn how to prevent the breakdown of democratic systems. Protecting democratic institutions, promoting media literacy, and resisting the urge to scapegoat vulnerable groups are essential. In a time when the world is deeply interconnected, nationalism must be tempered with inclusivity and cooperation. In the end, a society that values civic participation, open-mindedness, and respect for democratic processes is one that is resilient against authoritarian impulses. If history shows us one thing, it's that democracies do not erode overnight. They weaken through a series of choices we still have the power to make thoughtfully. By learning from history, we can make those choices wisely and protect our future.